Well, we'd like to welcome our speaker, Brother Garcia. He comes to us from the Newburgh Spanish congregation, and he's going to deliver the theme for us, How Can You Survive the End of the World? Brother Garcia, please.
The day after tomorrow, Armageddon, Infinity War, Independence Day, War of the Worlds. Did you catch on? No, it's not a list of my favorite movies, but it's a list of movies Hollywood has produced that highlight their obsession with the end of the world. And it's not just Hollywood. All of these titles have gone on to make hundreds of millions of dollars, not just in this country, but throughout the world. So this highlights mankind's interest, mankind's wanting to know what is the end of the world. Well, in our case, having Bible knowledge, we are at peace knowing that the world, the planet itself, will always exist. It will not come to an end. One simple Bible truth highlighted in Ecclesiastes 1:4. The earth remains forever. So this fear, this obsession with the end of the world or our planet goes out the window. And that's just one scripture. There's others. Psalms 37:29 helps us to appreciate not just the planet will endure, but it will always be inhabited. So when the scriptures speak of the end of the world, for example, 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 6, mentions that the world of that time suffered destruction when it was flooded with water. The world of that time does not refer to the planet or all of mankind, because the planet is still here. The human race is still in existence. That expression, when it highlights that the world at that time suffered destruction, refers to the world of ungodly people, the world of people opposed to our Creator and His moral standards. So the end of the world simply means the end of people who oppose God, the end of wickedness. That end is coming, but how will it come? Will it be like some of these movies highlight? Maybe alien invasion, maybe zombies taking over the planet, maybe asteroids destroying the planet, climate change. Will that be the way the world comes to an end? Well, it's important to say that there are legitimate threats against our planet, against mankind. The Awake of September 2012 mentioned some of these threats against our planet: supervolcanoes, asteroids, climate change, disease pandemic, the extinction of critical species. Something as simple as the extinction of a plant, an insect, can lead to a chain of events that would threaten life on the whole planet. And the threat of nuclear war. All of these are very real threats, but because we know that God will not allow this, the planet will always be inhabited, will always exist, we're not worried about these threats. But what will Jehovah use to destroy wicked mankind? Well, let's go to the scriptures and see what he used in the past. Strategies that he used to destroy nations or destroy his opposers. In 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 23, it says, And the Ammonites and the Moabites turned against the inhabitants of the mountainous region of Seir to destroy and annihilate them. And when they finished with the inhabitants of Seir, they helped to destroy one another. In the past, Jehovah has turned wicked ones against one another. And amongst themselves, they've annihilated themselves, weakened and wiped out their armies. So that is a strategy that he has available to him. In Job chapter 38, verses 22 and 23, Jehovah reveals the storehouses of the snow and of the hail that he has reserved for the day of battle and war. Jehovah is prepared to use natural forces, natural elements, to bring unrighteous ones to ruin. So, two ways. What's the third way? Well, he has an executioner. His heavenly forces led by his son, Christ Jesus. these powerful spirit creatures will easily do away with anyone who survives either sword of other men or the natural forces. In the past, one angel alone wiped out a mighty army of 185,000 soldiers. One angel. The scriptures reveal, if we go to Revelation chapter 19, verses 11 through 16, we won't read them in their entirety, but it reveals here Christ's role seated on a white horse. He's called faithful and true. And it mentions there in verse 11, he judges and carries on war in righteousness. It goes on to mention that he also is called by the name of the Word of God. So it reminds us his important position throughout all of creation as the Word. And in verse 15 mentions that out of his mouth protrudes a sharp, long sword with which to strike the nations. So Jehovah is prepared. There's no doubt that these powerful spirit creatures will completely annihilate their earthly foes. Doesn't matter if one tries to go to the highest mountaintop, the lowest valley, the deepest cave to hide, Jehovah will find those who oppose him. It will be impossible for anyone opposing Jehovah to hide from his day of judgment. So this is very real. This is going to happen. So a natural question that you and I should be asking ourselves if we value our life, if we enjoy living, is what do I do to survive this? How do I make sure I'm not amongst those that will come to an end when the world of ungodly people ends? Well, we're going to draw parallels with what Jehovah did in the past during Noah's day. We're going to highlight lessons that we learned from Noah, his family, what was going on in that time, that'll help us to see how you and I can survive the end of the world. Okay. Let's go together to Genesis chapter 6. And we can appreciate here why Jehovah kept Noah safe when he brought the flood upon the world and destroyed all ungodly ones. Genesis chapter 6 and verse 9. It says, "This is the history of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He proved himself faultless among his contemporaries. Noah walked with the true God." Some might read that expression, Noah was a righteous man, and think, wow, Noah was perfect. Well, he wasn't. He was righteous in the sense that he strived to get to know what God required of him and do his best to do just that. When it says that he was faultless, it doesn't mean he never made mistakes or he never sinned. It simply means, again, he would recognize his mistakes and he would try not to repeat them. He would try to improve. And what a beautiful expression where it says Noah walked with the true God. We're going to highlight throughout the rest of this theme what that implies, what that means, if you and I are to also walk with the true God. One of the things that Noah did in order to walk with the true God was reject the violence and immorality of the world around him. See, if we recall in that time, powerful spirit creatures were contemplating their Father's creation, and instead of simply just observing and praising Jehovah, wow, Father, you have made beautiful things upon the earth. Look at these wonderful, majestic animals. Look at man, how perfect he is. Look at woman, how beautiful and perfect she is. They didn't limit themselves to just recognizing Jehovah's ability to create beautiful creatures. They started sexualizing what they were seeing. And they had an interest in not only just praising and acknowledging the beauty that Jehovah created, but now they wanted to distort it and turn it into something twisted and ugly. So some of these spirit creatures left their dwelling place, came to earth, and had sexual relations with the women of earth. And that led to what we'll see in this first image. The Bible describes as men of fame. So these spirit creatures impregnated the women who had hybrid men. And when I was a small boy, I would never go to bed without my mom reading from my big book. I'd say, Mom, read from my big book, my book of Bible stories. And I wouldn't stop saying it until she read, and then I would go to sleep. And when she would read about these giants, my 4-year-old mind would be like, wow, They're so strong. And I would picture them walking around, ooga, ooga, me big, me hit you on the head. Boom. That was my 4-year-old brain. Thinking like, wow, they must have been impressive. Noah's boys were also impressed by these men of fame. You can almost see the influence they were having on his boys. It's a very realistic image of what was likely going on. So Noah had to protect his boys from admiring these men of fame. And there's nothing in the scriptures to back up my 4-year-old theory that they were not intelligent, that they were just big and strong. There's nothing in the scriptures to indicate that. Is it possible that they had not just superhuman strength, but superhuman intelligence? It's very likely, yeah. Who are the ones who cause damage today? The cyber attacks, terrorist attacks, the bullies. These individuals are usually pretty smart, very intelligent. They use their intelligence to hurt others, to plan, to scheme, to connive. Very possible the influence these men had was not just one of violence, but also causing damage, emotional, mental anguish. They were men of fame. They were experts at planning how to hurt others and how to cause damage. So this influence exists today, whether it's hurting others, being a bully, or being violent in our nature. And just as Noah protected his boys from that influence, parents, you have to protect your boys, your girls from that influence. Elders, we have to protect our young ones from that influence. When I was a kid, I grew up with 3 other brothers and a lot of kids in the congregation, boys. We loved watching WWF. We loved watching wrestling. And if anybody told us, oh, that's fake, we'd get so, no, it's real. Wrestling is cool. I still remember, by the way, Mom did not allow us to watch wrestling. So one Sunday after meeting at hospitality, we were all hiding in our buddy's room on the bunk beds watching WrestleMania. And I still remember to this day, the day that Hulk Hogan picked up Andre the Giant over his head, the body slam heard around the world, and dropped him. And all the boys in that room started cheering, and the parents go, what's going on in there? What are you doing? Nothing, nothing. We turn off the TV. So I'm a grown man, and when I think of that body slam, wow, it still makes me excited. Wow, that was a feat of strength. That was impressive. Can you imagine if Mom had not set more boundaries, more restrictions, and allowed us to watch whatever, allow us to keep watching wrestling? And then I become a fanatic of boxing. And then I'm a fanatic of MMA, UFC, that violent sport where men or women beat each other to a bloody pulp. What would that have done to my personality? Especially if I already have in my genetics aggression. Yeah, very aggressive grandfathers, an aggressive father. And now I'm consumed by violent entertainment. What type of man would I be? What type of husband would I be? Yeah, see, the scriptures in Psalm 11, verse 5, say, Jehovah examines the righteous one as well as the wicked one. He hates anyone who loves violence. See, Mom didn't want Jehovah to hate me and my brothers, so she made sure to help us to avoid this violent entertainment. And you parents, I'm sure you do not want Jehovah to hate your sons, your daughters. The elders, we don't want Jehovah to hate anyone in our congregation. We want to protect them from this influence. So like Noah, we have to take a stand. We have to recognize what is wrong, what can be simply a matter of conscience, but what things are actually wrong and can affect our way of thinking, can affect our young ones, can affect our children, and we need to protect them from that. Another thing that Noah faced was the apathy of his contemporaries. He didn't allow their whimsical attitude towards the world they were living in to affect him. Their carefree attitude, like, let's do whatever we like. Let's take it easy. Let's have a comfortable life. He didn't allow that influence on him or his children. The immorality he saw in his time was also something he protected his children from, no doubt. And what do we see in our time as far as immorality? Well, the world we live in not only highlights and promotes violence, immorality, but now the political agendas have made a lot obsessed with sexual orientation, with gender identity. And this world is confused in a lot of those matters. See, some young boys will grow up without a father figure. And it's natural as they grow up to start looking for a mentor, somebody to look up to. But there's some predators out there that take advantage of that, and they'll sexualize that young man's interest in having a male role model. Some young boys or young girls are best friends, and she loves her best friend. Some educators will see that and say, oh, wow, you are two very close. You must be lesbians. You must be gay because you love each other. And they confuse these children. A pure friendship, a pure bond of love that a young man can have with another young man, some will distort it and try to sexualize that and confuse this individual. And what has that produced? Well, it has produced so much immorality in the world, where young ones are influenced in a negative way to turn something pure and beautiful like a friendship into something sexual, degraded, and dirty. We must protect our young ones from that, especially if they're growing up in a world where it's normal to see two young men holding hands, two young women in a relationship, or to have two mothers or two fathers. So Noah was bold, and he kept his family separated from that influence. We too must be bold, take a stand, and keep our loved ones, our precious young ones, separated from that mentality. When Noah did this, no doubt there was backlash, no doubt it made him unpopular, but regardless, he closely obeyed Jehovah, not because it was easy. He walked with Jehovah because he loved Jehovah deeply. Jehovah was his close friend. He did everything to please his Father. So in our case, just as it's highlighted in Romans chapter 13, we too want to walk decently with Jehovah. Let's go together to Hebrews chapter 11, and I invite you to read verse 7 with me. Hebrews 11:7, it says, by faith, Noah, after receiving divine warning of things not yet seen, showed godly fear and constructed an ark for the saving of his household. And through his faith, he condemned the world, and he became an heir of the righteousness that results from faith. Noah exercised faith. And it highlights here that he not just would say in his heart, I have faith, I love Jehovah. It says he showed godly fear. His faith moved him to action. And it highlights here that he constructed an ark for the saving of his household. So he did not procrastinate. He did not put off the building of the ark. He believed Jehovah that a flood was coming, and he got to work on that ark. So what can we learn from that? Well, we can ask ourselves, what is my ark? What is my assignment? Is it a Bethel assignment? Is it a commuter assignment with Bethel, working remotely with Bethel? Is it being a great regular pioneer, a strong publisher in the congregation? Have you moved here to New York to further assist with Bethel and made that your personal project, your ark? Regardless, if our ark is working with LDC, if our ark in the future becomes an assignment, a new assignment, a transition into working in the field, whatever our ark is, we want to be like Noah. Look at this second image. Another beautiful privilege we have that might at times be our personal ark is caring for our aged parents, a loved one who needs some assistance. Whatever form our assignment takes, we want to be like Noah. Can you imagine in your mind Noah on this project shouting at his sons, telling them they're useless, they're too slow, they're doing it wrong? Can you honestly imagine that? I think we would have a hard time picturing that, right? Because we know what type of man Noah was. He walked with Jehovah. So no doubt the atmosphere that he created when him and his sons and his daughter-in-laws and his wife were working on his ark was one of peace, happiness, joy. They enjoyed the project. They worked unitedly. They were happy doing it. So whatever our assignment becomes or is, we want to be like Noah, especially if we have the privilege of being the head of a household, serving as an elder in the congregation, serving as an overseer in a certain assignment. We want to create that same atmosphere that those who work with us are happy, have peace. At the end of the day, they're reflecting on what a wonderful day they had. And in part, thanks to the influence of the one taking the lead. So what a privilege Jehovah has given to some of us to take the lead in certain matters. And we no doubt want to imitate Noah's fine example. Noah maintained strict obedience in everything he did. He didn't take shortcuts. Had he taken shortcuts, most likely that ark would not have survived the flood, nor would his family or all the animals aboard. So in our case, we too want to strictly obey Jehovah and keep our minds, our attitudes separated from the world's. And let's go together to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. We just read in Hebrews 11:7, it refers to Noah about him building the ark. But notice here, 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 5, it says, "And he did not refrain from punishing an ancient world, but kept Noah." Does it say the builder of the ark? No. When it says that Jehovah did not refrain from punishing an ancient world, but kept Noah, a preacher of righteousness, safe with 7 others when he brought a flood upon a world of ungodly people. Yeah. We might have certain assignments, certain projects that are our personal ark. Again, working at Bethel, working with LDC, HLC, caring for a sick loved one, aging parents. Whatever that assignment is, that will always be secondary to our primary objective. We are preachers of righteousness. We never lose sight of that. That's how Noah should be remembered. Yes, he did something amazing with Jehovah's Spirit. He had a huge privilege of building that ark. We're going to want to ask him a lot of things about that when we meet him. But his main objective was helping others to get to know Jehovah, to save their life. Jehovah didn't have to keep reminding him, go and preach, go and warn. Go talk to your family members, go talk to your neighbors. No, Noah took it upon himself. While he built the ark, which no doubt consumed a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, he would go and help others to learn about Jehovah. They rejected him. They didn't want to. He kept trying. What a fine example for you and me to take an interest in helping others, and especially taking care of our loved ones in the congregation and in our family. No doubt Noah would have time with his family to reflect on the day, how they saw Jehovah's Spirit on the project. One of his sons might have said, "Dad, I never thought we were going to accomplish getting those beams up so high. How did we even do that? Those are some strong elephants we used." And then Noah, no doubt, would highlight, "Well, son, Jehovah's Spirit is with us on this project. Jehovah is helping us." And he would always draw it back to Jehovah. We too, within our family, want to always draw it back to Jehovah and how he takes care of us. Think of the example the governing body has set for us in recent years. How do you feel when you see an update? What's the purpose of these updates? Are they to just simply entertain us, inform us? Don't you feel that when you see an update, it draws you closer to our worldwide family? We receive news on how they're doing in other parts of the world, how the work is advancing, and it makes us feel closer to them. It makes us feel like we're so tight-knit as a spiritual family throughout the whole world. And then these updates, too, the governing body gives us reminders to protect us, to help us. They also give us encouragement not to be afraid, to stay positive. What a fine example these updates are for us, again, if we have the privilege of being the head of a household, if we're raising children, if we're elders in the congregation, if we're overseers, to always try to remind the friends, remind our family how Jehovah is taking care of us, how Jehovah is always there to strengthen us. Yeah. I don't know if you agree with me, but sometimes I'll see these updates and I think in my head, I'll toast to that. Yeah. It just brings us all in line with even our way of thinking. The changes, thanks to these updates and the Bible principles they base the changes on, help us all to accept them and adapt to them. We don't question them. We trust. We're confident. We have peace because we know Jehovah is in control and he's using these spiritual men to take the lead. Well, that same arrangement trickles down into the congregation, into the family unit. We have to be spiritual men and women who take the lead and take care of our families and the congregation. So we must be like Noah in the sense that he also cared for strangers. We spend so much time helping strangers learn about Jehovah so that they too can be saved and join us in our happy future. So as we go back through what we discussed today, the world will come to an end. Not the way that many think. It's not the planet. It's not all of mankind. It's the world of ungodly people. How will Jehovah do this? Well, it's very likely he will use things he used in the past, turning ones against each other, using natural forces, but primarily he has appointed his son to bring about his war and do away with wickedness. This will happen. We've talked about what you and I must do to survive. We want to be like Noah and avoid the immorality, the violence, the twisted, distorted way of thinking that Satan has promoted throughout the world. We want to be focused on our assignments, having joy and unity in those assignments. We want to focus primarily on our preaching work and helping others to learn about Jehovah. How will we feel when we see the end of wickedness and we start experiencing all the blessings that come afterwards? Well, think how Noah must have felt, how happy and thankful he must have felt, even redeemed to a point, when the ark came to rest, the doors were opened, and he saw fresh, crisp, clean air. How must he have felt? Well, let's visualize that in this final image. It must have been thrilling for them to step out onto a cleansed earth, free of unrighteousness. What a beautiful image. How proud do you think his wife, his sons, his daughter-in-laws were of him at that moment? Oh, Dad, you got us through this. You helped us to believe in Jehovah and do what Jehovah wanted. Thank you, Dad. Yeah. What a privilege he had. Well, you and I are going to feel exactly like that. But see, sometimes we could be a little short-sighted. When we were going through the pandemic, maybe all we were focused on was, when are we finally going to get off of Zoom and get back to the kingdom halls? When are we going to be able to be with one another again? When we're going through a trial, an illness, maybe all we're focused on, when am I going to feel better? When is this sickness going to go away? Maybe if we're going through financial struggles, all we're focused on, when am I finally going to be able to breathe financially and have enough to cover my expenses? So these very real situations that we face now can make us a bit short-sighted. And all we're seeing is the end of that situation, the end of that problem. But we want to be like Noah. He never lost sight of the big picture. So our relief, a deep breath we're going to take, will finally come when Jehovah does away with ungodly ones and the earth is cleansed and free of unrighteousness. So if you and I become people of godly devotion and continue to be people of godly devotion, we will be saved when Jehovah destroys the world of ungodly ones. And our wish is that each one of us are among those survivors, those happy survivors.
Thank you very much, Brother Garcia, for all your hard work with that fine discourse there, helping us to appreciate how we can follow Noah's example in order to survive the end of this system by resisting the world's influence and staying close to Jehovah. We appreciate you and your family for visiting us this afternoon. Well, we have much more spiritual food to consider now by means of our Watchtower study. So now we'll go ahead and invite Brother Laidler to lead us in that discussion.
Thank you, brothers. Welcome, friends. We'd like to introduce our Watchtower study, as is our custom, by way of song, so those of you willing and able will invite to stand up. And we'll sing together song number 120, which is entitled, Imitate Christ's Mildness, and that's based on Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Song number 120. Well, that was nicely sung, friends, and thank you so much for carrying us into our weekly study of the Watchtower. If you'd like to follow along, we encourage you to pull out study article number 38, which is entitled Show Respect for Others. By way of introduction, what is respect? How does Jehovah define respect according to the Bible? Particularly, as our opening paragraphs reveal, within the family, between fellow believers, and towards non-witnesses unrelated to us in the faith. The focus of our discussion will center on the why and how scriptural respect is shown, especially when circumstances in each of these three scenarios are less than favorable. So with that, our theme text is taken from Proverbs chapter 22, verse 1. To be respected is better than silver and gold. What does that mean? We'll give attention to that in our opening paragraph. So let's commence. We'll join with dear brother Walter Mejia with the reading of paragraph number 1. Welcome, dear brother.
Do you appreciate it when people show you respect? No doubt you do. Respect is a basic human need. We thrive when we receive it. No wonder the Bible says that to be respected is better than silver and gold.
Thank you for that. So before we read the opening read scripture there, the theme text, let's answer this question if we could. Why do humans appreciate being shown respect, friends? Why is that? Please, yes, please. My sister here. Can we get sound, dear brothers, if we could? Thank you, Selena.
It's because it's a basic human need.
Okay, one more time now. We're broadcasting around the world. So if we could, can we make sure our volume, we good? Please, one more time.
Do you hear now? No.
Not yet. Can we use your mic? Thank you, brothers. Thank you so much.
No? No, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. No, but it's because it's a basic human need.
Yes. Thank you for that, Sister Hugo. Please, Sister Edwards, thank you, friends, for bearing up.
It's as essential as air and water. And so I love how it says we thrive when we receive it, and it's because we actually need it.
Yes. So now let's take a look at our read scripture together, if we could. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 1. Who'd like to read that for us? Brother Martin? Jonathan?
A good name is to be chosen rather than great wealth. To be respected is better than silver and gold.
Very good, friends. So with that in mind, what is respect likened to, and how valuable is it to a wise person according to the proverb, and why? Please, Brother Green, Chase.
Well, it says it's more valuable than silver and gold. So for thousands of years, those were materials that have been highly valued. And I just thought it was interesting how the paragraph, it calls it out as it's a human need. So it's something that Jehovah built into to only us, and it's something that Jehovah recognizes that we need, and so that's why it's compared. Only a human can appreciate gold. An animal doesn't appreciate gold, but we do.
Excellent. Beautiful. Beautiful thought. Please, my dear brother here.
It just makes me think of how it says it's a need for humans, and even children are humans. They also need respect and dignity.
Thank you, Brother Younger. So let's add to that, friends. We've set a nice tone as to what this means. We'll see to what extent respect is valued even by our Heavenly Father, Jehovah. Let's consider our goal for this week's lesson in paragraphs 2 and 3.
We may not always find it easy to show respect for others. For one thing, we cannot help but see the flaws of those around us. Also, we live at a time when it is common for people to be disrespectful. But we must be different. Why? Because Jehovah wants us to honor or show respect for men of all sorts. We can benefit from discussing what it means to respect others and how we can show it to 1, family members, 2, fellow worshipers, and 3, those outside the congregation. We will focus on how we can show respect under difficult circumstances.
Thank you, dear brother. What are some situations in which we ought to show respect for others, friends? Sister Henry?
1 Peter 2:17 brings out that we should show honor to all sort of men. So we're going to discuss how we can do that with a family member, our fellow worshipers, and others from the outside the congregation.
Thank you, sister, very much. Beautiful. My sister here, please.
And because we can't help as imperfect human beings see the flaws of those around us, today we will focus on how to show respect in difficult circumstances.
Thank you, Sister Woodall. Thank you. I didn't recognize you in the hat. Jordan, please.
And the paragraph reminds us that the world we live in today has more or less decided to give up on even attempting to respect those around them in the world we live in today. So we are surrounded by that world, but we don't want to adopt that viewpoint. We want Jehovah's viewpoint on respect and when it should be given.
Very, very good. And so it was touched on at least one scenario. What are the 3 scenarios we're going to be discussing? Respect. Please, Brother Gaston.
The 3 areas: family members, fellow worshipers, and those outside the congregation.
Thank you, my brother. So let's consider that. Let's begin to do that. What does it mean to respect others? What does it mean? To be sure, let's first define respect from Jehovah's vantage point. Paragraph 4.
How would you define respect? In some languages, the words respect and honor are related. How? Respect refers primarily to how we view a person. When we respect others, we view them as worthy of our attention and consideration, perhaps because of their qualities, their achievements, or their position. Honor, though, refers to how we treat a person. When we honor others, we treat them in ways that make them feel valued, appreciated, and dignified. Of course, for honor to be genuine, it must come from the heart.
Thank you, Walter. In paragraph 4, what does it mean to respect others, friends? Let's go to Zoom and hear from Brother and Sister Hamilton, please.
Respect and honor are related, but respect refers primarily how we view a person, and we view them as worthy of our attention, and that helps us. And the way we treat a person, we show honor.
Thank you, Chuck. Nicely done. Please, Sister Espinoza.
We see there in Matthew 15, verses 8, that it's very possible to honor someone with our lips, but not with our hearts. So we might have the honor part down where we're treating a person and trying to make sure that they feel respected, but we don't genuinely respect them from our heart. So we want to make sure that we have both of those aspects in order to actually please Jehovah.
Nice perspective, Starlene. Let's add to that, if we could, Brother Mejia, and consider what will help us to do just what she described.
Jehovah wants us to show respect for others. In fact, he requires it in connection with the superior authorities. But some may say, I'm happy to show people respect as long as they have earned it. Is that reasoning sound? As servants of Jehovah, we realize that any respect we have for humans is not based solely on their actions. It is based on something deeper, our love for Jehovah and our desire to please him.
Nicely read. So in paragraph 5, what can help us to show respect for others? Please, Lee. Please, Sister Stallo.
We can see that showing respect for others is connected to our spirituality because it's something that Jehovah wants us to do. And so because of our love and our desire to please him, that's what we should do.
Beautiful. Nicely done. Brother Howard. Jim?
In Joshua 4:16, it shows that Jehovah's the one who motivated the Israelites to respect Joshua. He exalted Joshua in all their eyes so that they respected him all those days after he replaced Moses.
Nice example. Thank you for that, dear brother. Brother Woodall, Jason.
And the world has sayings like you have to give respect to get it, or respect is earned, not given. Things like that are the world's way. But when it comes to respect, it's not about us and another person. It's about us and our relationship with Jehovah. So just like 1 Peter 3:15 says, that we would always be giving deep respect, and that's because we love Jehovah.
Awesome. Now consider how this is sometimes, though, challenged. What happens when an individual doesn't respect us in return? Let's consider paragraph 6 together for the answer.
Some may wonder, is it really possible to show respect for someone who does not treat you with respect? Yes. Consider some examples. King Saul humiliated his son Jonathan in front of others. Still, Jonathan respectfully supported his father in battle until the day Saul died. High priest Eli accused Hannah of being drunk. Nonetheless, Hannah spoke respectfully to Eli, even though his failures both as a father and as a high priest were widely known in Israel. And men of Athens insulted the Apostle Paul, calling him a chatterer. Despite this, Paul spoke respectfully to them. It should be evident that deep love for Jehovah and a healthy fear of displeasing him can move us to show respect for others, not only when it is easy, but also when it is difficult. Let us discuss who deserves our respect and why.
Thank you, brother. So before we've got the picture. I was going to say before we bring up the picture, but is it possible to show respect for someone who does not respect you? Sister Thorpe.
The answer is yes, and the example I like a lot is that of Hannah. Here the high priest Eli accused her of being drunk. What was her respectful reply? She says, "No, my Lord," and then twice she even refers to herself as your servant. So she continued to be respectful despite the fact of the way he talked to her, and even his failures were widely known.
Powerful. Thank you for that explanation. Please, Brother Neil, you have another?
Another example that's cited here is that of King Saul and his son Jonathan. In 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 34, it tells us that his father humiliated him. It was a disagreement over how David was viewed. Jonathan was defending him, and that angered his father, and he threw a spear at him. Well, even with that, Jonathan stuck with his father and still served in his army as one of his army chiefs. And they died together, as our picture shows here. The last battle they fought together was against the Philistines, and they both died. So David, in 2 Samuel 1:23, said that Saul and Jonathan were beloved and cherished during their life, and in death they were not separated.
Thank you, dear brother. Thanks for that application. Another example, please, Sister Schaefer.
The example of the Apostle Paul. We see how the Athenians were so rude, they actually called him a chatterer, which to them was very a derogatory sense because that they didn't feel he was qualified, and he just picks up scraps of knowledge like a babbler. But in effect, they really were saying that he was ignorantly chattering about things he didn't really understand. But this didn't hold him back, because in chapter 17, verse 22, Paul addressed them in a respectful manner. He says, "Men of Athens, I see that in all things you seem to be more given to the fear of the deities than others are."
Excellent, dear sister. Beautiful. Isabella, please.
And going back to the example of Hannah showing respect to Eli was probably difficult. We learned that Eli's failures, both as a father and priest, were widely known in Israel. And for that reason, it's possible that people of the land scoffed at or made fun of her, showing respect to someone who had such a terrible reputation. But through Hannah's actions, it showed her deep love for Jehovah and that she feared displeasing him.
Thank you, Sister Riley. Beautifully done. Sister Trinkleton?
And highlighting both Hannah and Jonathan, they both did not receive respect from Jehovah's appointed one. And it really showed, too, that even though they didn't receive that respect, they still honored Jehovah's arrangement rather than focusing on how they were treated. So it really showed that their loyalty was to Jehovah, and that's why they were able to give respect in a hard time.
Well done. Brother Alvarez.
So it shows us that we don't choose who we respect everyone. That's the way Jehovah wants it. And it's so beautifully put in the paragraphs. Deep love for Jehovah and healthy fear of displeasing him can move us to show respect, even though when it's not easy and even it might be challenging, but we do it because that's what Jehovah wants us to do.
Thank you for that, dear brother. Brother Cass Stevens, Eli?
Not only were these three individuals not shown respect, they were actually disrespected. Jonathan was humiliated, Hannah was accused, Paul was insulted, but they were able to overcome these personal attacks and still show respect where it was due.
Outstanding, Eli. Sister Jarek?
And it's really amazing that Paul showed any respect to the Epicureans because they believed that the ultimate experience was only experiencing pleasure 90% of the time. That was their religion. Morality had no basis. They believed in poetry that was built on a Greek philosopher. So nothing they had was in any basis. And the way they spoke about it was that Paul was a senseless man. Nothing he said had any point to it, and that religion in itself had no morality. So for Paul to be able to see that and to experience that, and then to be called basically someone who was stupid, for Paul to be able to stand there and speak respectfully to them shows a lot on his character and how Jehovah wants us to treat others.
Thank you for that, dear sister. So when we see the picture one more time, what's reflected here to you? Brother Shanafelt?
Thinking back to how what happened with Jonathan was in front of others, perhaps others maybe in the army had heard about what had happened. Jonathan didn't take that and maybe hold him back in the ways he showed respect. Where we see him depicted is he's actually at the forefront. So this respect led him to risking his life, and his deep love for Jehovah outweighed this, how he had been treated by his father in the past.
Excellent, Tyler. Zach?
It was a really subtle touch, but I appreciate the man to the right of Saul kind of looking at Jonathan, kind of like, are you sure about this? You sure we should do this? Which showed that Jonathan, he probably had to resist other influences trying to push him maybe away from respecting Saul. And if he had any hint of disrespect, it would have been reflected in a moment where your life's at stake. But we see down to the end, Jonathan truly respected Saul, and that was reflected in his actions.
Wonderful. So, friends, just as a progressive summary, if you will, what does it mean to respect others? What's our takeaway from these few paragraphs here? Janae, please. Sister Maisano?
Well, the Bible's view of respect is how we view a person as worthy of our attention, and then we treat that person in a way that makes them feel like we value them. And then that is only dependent on our relationship with Jehovah, not our relationship with that person. So no matter how disrespectful they may be to us, we can still show respect to them.
Beautiful. Let's add to that, if we could, Brother Mejia. Thank you, brothers in media. With that in mind, show respect for family members, paragraph 7.
The challenge. We spend a lot of time with our family. As a result, we know both their strengths and their weaknesses. Some may have an illness that makes it difficult for us to care for them, or they may suffer from excessive anxiety. Others may even speak and act in ways that hurt us. Instead of trying to make their home a place of rest and peace, some create turmoil by treating family members with a lack of respect. Consequently, there is no harmony. Like arthritis that prevents body parts from working together smoothly, disrespect keeps family members from working unitedly. But unlike arthritis, which we ourselves cannot completely remedy, we can stop disrespect from crippling our family relationships.
Thank you, brother. In paragraph 7, what may make it difficult for us to treat family members with respect? Sister Laidler, Marcy.
Well, with our family, we're familiar with one another to the point where we know each other's weaknesses. Perhaps words are said that bring us hurt, and so we may feel as though we don't have to show respect because of these things. However, it shows from comparing it to a sickness such as arthritis, something we can't prevent. In this case, with even if we are disrespected in some ways, we can still rise above it and show respect so that the family can continue to work in harmony.
Yes, that's indeed the case. That's the main thought thrust upon us. Let's consider paragraph 8, if we could. And our first read scripture, our second read scripture, and we'll join with Brother Mejia with the reading of that and then the paragraph.
1 Timothy 5:4. But if any widow has children or grandchildren, let these learn first to practice godly devotion in their own household, and to repay their parents and grandparents what is due them, for this is acceptable in God's sight. Verse 8. Certainly, if anyone does not provide for those who are his own, and especially for those who are members of his household, he has disowned the faith and is worse than a person without faith. Why show respect? In his first letter to Timothy, Paul discussed how family members should care for one another's needs. He explained that our primary motive for honoring those of our household in this way should be not out of mere duty, but out of godly devotion. This term refers to loyal worship and service to God. Jehovah established the family arrangement. So when we honor a family member, we actually honor Jehovah, the originator of the family. What a powerful reason to show respect for family members.
Thank you, dear brother. In paragraph 8, friends, why is it important to show respect for family members? Sister Canis? Ashley.
Well, in 1 Timothy 5:4, it says, practice godly devotion in their own households. So showing respect for our family is part of our showing reverence to Jehovah, the creator of families. And Jehovah created the family to be a peaceful and loving unit. So when we contribute to the respect within the family, we show our desire to support the arrangement he made.
Indeed. Beautiful. Sister Bellows.
The study notes on 1 Timothy 4 also point out that some Bible translations render the verb that Paul used to translate godly devotion, practice godly devotion, as respect or fulfill their duty. But this leaves out the spiritual motive that moves Christians to carry out sometimes something that is a very challenging work.
Beautiful, beautiful thought. Brother Jarek?
So, as previously mentioned in our comments, to ignore that aspect of the human assignment shows disrespect to the one who gave us that assignment. In the same way that we're put in charge of all the animals, we wouldn't go out and start abusing, a random squirrel or a dog. We also, for the same reason, have respect for our father, our mother, and our family members. And that system, that hierarchy, didn't fall out of the sky. Jehovah gave that to us.
Any thought or insight, perspective on the study note that's referenced here on 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse number 4? Or did I get ahead of myself? 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse number 4. Please, Tony, Brother Quinn.
That note talks about how it takes it beyond the realm of duty. It brings in a spiritual aspect of it, showing qualities that we learn as Christians. And it even takes it to the point of acknowledging that there can be a challenging aspect to it. It even mentions the word heart-rending work. Sometimes the people we love the most can hurt us the most. So these challenges can run really deep. It can be really hard for people to treat family members with respect, but as they employ these Christian qualities, this oftentimes heart-rending work is worth it.
Excellent application, dear brother. Let's use what Tony just shared and a few insights you all have shared and consider now the husband and the wife. In paragraph 9, how can husband and wife show respect for other in light of these principles? Paragraph 9.
How to show respect. A husband who honors his wife shows both in private and in public that she is precious to him. He never strikes her, humiliates her, or makes her feel worthless. Ariel, who lives in Argentina, says, "Because of my wife's illness, she at times says things that hurt me. When this happens, I remind myself that her words do not reflect her true feelings. In tense moments, I recall 1 Corinthians 13:5, which motivates me to communicate in a respectful way rather than in a demeaning way." A wife honors her husband by speaking well of him to others. She avoids sarcasm, mocking, and name-calling. She realizes that such conduct is a rust that corrodes a marriage. A sister in Italy whose husband struggles with anxiety says, "At times, I feel that my husband's concerns are exaggerated. In the past, my words and facial expressions revealed a lack of respect for him. But I find that the more I associate with people who talk about others respectfully, the more I am moved to show respect for my husband."
Thank you, dear brother. Thank you, brothers in media, for the pictures. Our question: how can a husband and a wife show respect for each other? Andre, Brother Hugo, please.
I can start with the husband, but it says there in Proverbs 31:28 that her husband rises up and praises her. So this word to rise up, it's a visible action that others can see. So it should be clear for others that a husband really values her.
Beautiful, dear brother. Further on that? Sister Kerwin?
And for a wife, Ephesians 5:33 brings out that a wife should have deep respect for her husband, and this would include in public or private, speaking well of him to others, but also to him, so that the husband understands how precious, so my husband understands how precious he is to me. No sarcasm, mocking, or name-calling, because these things would diminish the respect and the honor that we're trying to give to our husbands.
And what do we learn, or how did the spouses mentioned here in paragraph 9 learn to respect their mates, and what can we learn? Learn to respect their mates, and what can we learn? First, Brother Lee, right. Brother Stallo.
Well, in all these aspects, they went to the scriptures. They used Bible principles to guide their actions. When it's highlighting 1 Corinthians 13, that's talking about love, the principle, quality of Jehovah's fruitage of the Spirit. So that was a motivating factor that, if you love someone, these are the things you don't do. And then in talking about not being demeaning, these are things that Jehovah doesn't do to us. And so they're literally learning from our grand instructor, Jehovah.
Beautiful, Daniel. Thank you for that. Brother Caballero. Alec?
And in the other experience, we see how our association can affect the way we respect others too. The sister here said that when I associate with people who speak about others respectfully, I'm more motivated. So our association has a big impact on that too.
Beautiful. Excellent. I'm so sorry. Brother Gaston, sorry.
That's okay. So, and the sister from Italy, interestingly, she realized that respect even got to the point of their facial expressions and body language. So not only overtly, but inwardly, the way she carried herself made a big difference as to how respect was shown.
And what can we draw from our picture? Thank you, friends, for indulging me. Sister Cass Stevens, Becky.
Well, the picture on the left really illustrates that the husband respects his wife. He knows that it takes time and effort to prepare to show hospitality, and he's helping her with that. But then on the right, we see maybe they're thanking her for this evening and the association and the spread, and you can tell that she's acknowledging the help that her husband gave her. So both of them were showing respect to each other.
Powerful, powerful, beautiful. Let's add to that if we could, Walter. Thank you, friends, for indulging. Let's consider paragraph 10 and more to this, this point.
Young people, obey the family rules that your parents set for you. Speak respectfully to your parents. As they get older, your parents may need more of your attention. Do your best to care for them. Consider the example of Maria, whose father is not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. When her father fell ill, he made it difficult for Maria to care for him. She recalls, I prayed not only to have respect for my father, but also to be able to show it. I reasoned that if Jehovah asked me to honor my parents, then logically, he can give me the strength to do so. In time, I came to realize that my father does not have to change his conduct in order for me to treat him with respect. When we honor our family members despite their failings, we prove that we respect Jehovah's arrangement.
Beautiful. So in paragraph 10, how can young people show that they respect their parents? Let's go to congregate living if we could here on Zoom.
Show it is naturally they want to do the best they can to honor their parents, and of course the parents appreciate that. But when they get older, then naturally the children want to do the best to show respect for them, and one way they can do that to be able to do the best as they can to care for them in their old age, and so that's one way they can do it.
Thank you, Brother Jordan. Well, how about the experience, friends? What helped Maria to show respect for her non-witness father? Sarah Jane. Sister Munoz?
Sister said that she took courage from the fact that Jehovah asked her to honor her parents. So she took courage from that and was able to show honor to her father, who was not a believer and didn't give her a lot of reasons to respect her. This reminds me also of the experience of Saul that we read about earlier. He was able to honor his parent despite being humiliated by that same parent.
Yes, very, very good. Sister Park.
I like what she says, that in time she came to realize that her father didn't have to change his conduct for her to actually treat him with respect. And I was reading the article about what has happened to respect, and it actually says to view respect as something that you owe your family, not something that they need to earn. So obviously the way that she viewed respect and that it was something between her and Jehovah helped her to change her viewpoint about it.
So in this subheading, friends, let's say, why is respect often more of a challenge to show within the family arrangement? What have we learned? Brother Joe, Brother Menarik?
As families, we're close together. We know all the flaws. We know what buttons to push, when to push them. It's because we spend a lot of time together, so it's easy for us to see these areas that cause us to be disrespectful.
Yes. We know what buttons to push. They know what buttons to push. Don't push them. Don't do it, right? That's what we learn. But what's our takeaway? What's our takeaway? What's our takeaway from this subheading in view of that? Becky, Sister Cass Stevens?
Regardless, we still need to show them respect.
Yes. Sister DeBase, Doris?
And when we honor a family member, we're actually honoring Jehovah himself because he originated the families.
Outstanding. Beautiful. And that's the key. Show respect for fellow worshipers. Let's consider paragraph 11 with Brother Mejia.
The challenge. Fellow believers live by Bible standards, yet at times some may treat us unkindly, judge us unfairly, or irritate us. If a fellow worshiper gives us a cause for complaint, we may struggle to continue treating him with respect. What can help us to cope?
Paragraph 11 asks, why may it be difficult to treat fellow worshipers with respect? Brother Thorpe?
We know we're all imperfect, so at times we may be unkind to one of our fellow believers, judge them wrong or unfairly, or irritate them, so that can definitely make it difficult.
Very good, dear one. Let's first, Brother Isaac.
Jacob, close. Garza, his last name. But sometimes we can also set higher standards for those in the congregation. We expect them to treat us a certain way because they live by Bible standards, so when they don't, that can disappoint us, and it can make it hard for us to show respect.
Thank you for that. Now, Brother Isaac, behind Brother Garza.
Yeah, similar thought. It can make it more challenging. If you would be somebody out there in the world, he's not a Christian, and even in this area, we can add to that, but he's a Bethelite. How can you do that to me? So, yeah, those factors can make it more challenging to show respect after something like that. That could happen because we are imperfect.
Yes, we live, right? We have a reputation of living by Bible standards, right? We do. So we take certain things for granted because, we're related in the faith based on that. So when something is a little off center, we get a little bit. But let's consider why, even then, we should show respect. We'll follow along with Brother Mejia with the reading of 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 through 12, our read scripture, and then the paragraph.
So then, Jehovah knows how to rescue people of godly devotion out of trial, but to reserve unrighteous people to be destroyed on the day of judgment, especially those who seek to defile the flesh of others and who despise authority. Daring and self-willed, they are not afraid to speak abusively of glorious ones, whereas angels, although they are greater in strength and power, do not bring against them an accusation in abusive terms out of respect for Jehovah. But these men, like unreasoning animals that act on instinct and are born to be caught and destroyed, speak abusively about things of which they are ignorant. They will suffer destruction brought on by their own destructive course. Why show respect? In his second inspired letter, Peter mentioned that some in the first century Christian congregation were speaking disrespectfully about glorious ones, that is, Christian elders. How did the faithful angels who saw what was happening react? Out of respect for Jehovah, they did not utter a single abusive word against the wrongdoers. Imagine that. The perfect angels refused to speak harshly about those arrogant men. Instead, they left it to Jehovah to judge and rebuke them. We can take a lesson from the angels. If we should not treat opposers with disrespect, how much more so should we avoid treating fellow believers with disrespect? On the contrary, we should take the lead in honoring them. Doing so shows that we respect Jehovah.
Powerful paragraph and Bible reading, right? Let's consider 12 together. Why is it important to show respect for fellow believers, friends? Mackenzie, please, Sister Faka.
Well, these perfect angels did not have a single disrespectful thing to say about these arrogant men. The end of verse 12 says they will suffer destruction brought on by their own destructive course. So they realized that Jehovah was the only one that could judge them and that he would take care of it soon enough. So we can imitate this in our dealings with our fellow worshipers, because if the perfect angels were able to be respectful, then it's surely not our place to be disrespectful, and instead we should leave it to Jehovah.
Beautiful reasoning, dear one. Very good. Sister Canis, Nicole.
And in addition to that, Jude 9 brings out that Michael the archangel, although he had great authority, he restrained himself from speaking abusively to Satan, who deserved anything but, who more to deserve a harsh judgment than Satan himself? But he didn't, because he had deep respect for Jehovah as judge. So therefore, we know that our brothers and sisters, they may have flaws, but they deserve nothing but respect. They are not doing anything close to deserving disrespect. So in the same way, we imitate Jesus and the angels by showing them due respect.
Nice application. Beautiful. McGee, please. Sister Quinn.
And it's incredible how Jehovah gives us kind of a key in dealing with weaknesses and imperfections of others with respect, because really few things are as effective in drawing us closer to others than overlooking mistakes and offenses. So when we do have those challenges, it actually presents us with an even better opportunity to draw even closer together when we do take that step to show the initiative in showing respect.
Excellent application, dear sister. Beautiful. Taylor, please. Sister Shanafelt?
Along with McGee's point, Romans 12:10 there in the paragraph talks about being proactive in how we show respect to others. And so that latter verse says, the latter part of the verse says, in showing honor to one another, take the lead. So by taking the initiative, making that first move and showing respect to others, we're ultimately going to show honor to them, but by taking that initiative, we're also going to show honor to Jehovah.
Powerful. Please, Sister Maisano, Jordan.
And going back to Peter, verse 9 talks about people of godly devotion, and that's our motive right there. We heard this in the previous paragraphs, but it's here again. So that loyal worship to Jehovah, that love for Jehovah, and that respect for him, that is our key motivating factor to love our brothers and sisters.
Beautiful. Sister Rosas?
That same line of thought, when we think about taking the lead or taking the initiative, it means that that's always our go-to. We don't think, am I going to be respectful? Am I going to show tender affection? But it's always going to be our go-to when it comes to our brothers and sisters.
Yes. And if I could turn your attention or draw your attention back to our Bible reading at 2 Peter chapter 2. What are those who are disrespecting fellow believers, in particular in this case in the context of Peter's writing, the elders likened to? Those who show disrespect, what are they likened to according to the Bible reading there, particularly in verse number 12? You see that? Tony, Brother Quinn?
They're likened to unreasoning animals, so we could end up being like them if we join them in that course, or even talking against them. The angels didn't do that. If we start doing that, we kind of match them at their game, become an unreasoning animal like them.
Excellent, dear one. Sister Edwards?
It goes on to say that act on instinct. So what's the first reaction, your gut reaction, going with that? But instead, in going back to the angels, it's their faithfulness, and they saw the whole thing. They saw everything, and even they know that it's not something for them to involve themselves with, but to wait on Jehovah.
How beautiful is this, right? We are not a finished product, so we're not looking at lessons like this to think about who's doing this or guilty of this. We're, if you will, a work in progress. But again, we are being reminded this is the term or expression respect as defined by Jehovah. This is from Jehovah's perspective. So how encouraging to write our perspective and help us to be aspirational in this regard so that we can live according to Jehovah's standard. Let's consider paragraph 13, if we could, 13 and 14, the how of showing respect with Brother Mejia.
How to show respect. Elders, endeavor to instruct others on the basis of love. If you need to counsel someone, do so kindly and not when you're frustrated. Sisters, you can do much to create and to protect the atmosphere of respect in the congregation by refusing to engage in negative gossip or slander. All of us can show that we respect congregation elders by cooperating with them and by expressing gratitude for the hard work they do to conduct meetings, to direct the preaching work, and to help those who have taken a false step. A sister named Rocio found it difficult to respect an elder who gave her advice. I felt that he had been hard on me, she says. At home, I spoke negatively about him. Although I tried not to show it, inwardly I doubted his motives and dismissed his advice. What helped Rocio? She explains, in my Bible reading, I came across 1 Thessalonians 5:12 and 13. When I realized that I was not showing respect for this brother, my conscience began to bother me. I prayed to Jehovah and did research in our publications to find specific information that could help me adjust my attitude. I eventually realized that the problem was not the brother, but my pride. I now understand that there's a relationship between my humility and my ability to respect others. I still need to improve, but as I strive to show respect, I feel at peace with Jehovah.
Thank you, Walter. Nicely read. In 13 and 14, friends, how can we show respect for those in the congregation? Before we give the examples, how can we just kind of show respect for those in the congregation? Brother Stallo?
Well, we can see here, based on the scripture at Philemon 8:9, or Philemon verses 8 and 9, that it's on the basis of love. So it gives us instruction as elders to make sure that we're instructing others in the basis of love. If we have to counsel someone, don't bring emotion into it. Don't act frustrated. Do the loving thing. Pause, give yourself some time, then approach them. And then with sisters, it even talks about making sure to protect the atmosphere. Again, it's the loving thing to not gossip about someone and not to slander. So Paul's bringing us right back to Jehovah being the source of why we respect others.
Outstanding. Beautiful. Ife, please, Brother Garcia.
And as elders, we can appreciate how much Jehovah values respect. He gives us clear instruction on we have to help somebody in the congregation who's underage, a sister perhaps, how we always involve and go through the head of the family, the parents, to show respect for their position in Jehovah's arrangement.
Beautiful. Nice application. Sister Chacon, Alicia, please.
I liked in this paragraph how it shows that everyone in the congregation has a role in protecting the respect of it. When it talked about the atmosphere of respect in the congregation, it takes a lot of effort to create that atmosphere, but it can be crumbled very easily by disrespect or having a ungrateful attitude. But being cooperative and being grateful for all that the brothers are doing can really nurture that atmosphere and encourage others to display that respect as well.
Beautiful application. So how is that reflected? Some of what you all have shared, how is that reflected in our image, our picture? Please, Sister Jessica.
In the picture, the sister may have come across a scripture that helped her see a younger elder in her hall in a different light. Although he's much younger and not as experienced, she seems like she's trying to look for ways in which to show her respect and appreciation. And here it looks like she's noticing that he's a great speaker, he helps the friends, and that he takes care of the hall.
So, friends, in this subheading, what might be some of the challenges that prevent us from showing respect for one another within our congregation family? What might be the culprit sometimes? Sister Green, Yami.
So it's similar to in the family dynamic where we spend a lot of time with each other. So there's going to be times where we're treated unkindly or judged unfairly, but also there's times where we do that. So there has to be room for some work in progress, basically. Everybody's a work in progress, but if we focus on the fact that we are trying to show this respect because of Jehovah and towards him, then that will help us to keep working on it.
Beautiful, dear one. Excellent. Alec, please, Brother Caballero.
And so like the sister, we can let our pride get in the way. Somebody says something that hurts us, and it affects the way we feel about them. And so we have to think back to Jonathan, too, because his pride was, his father was coming at his pride, right? And so he set a great example. And so we want to look at the good qualities in people, and we see the sister doing that in these pictures. She's thinking about the good things, and that can help us to change our attitude towards them too.
Beautiful application, dear one. Let's consider our final scenario, if we could. We'll join with dear Brother Mejia. Thank you, brothers in media. Show respect for those outside the congregation, paragraph 15.
The challenge. We often meet people in the ministry who appear to have no love for Bible truth. Some choose to remain ignorant because of their upbringing. We may have to contend with employers or school teachers who are hard to please, and coworkers or schoolmates who are hard to deal with. Over time, our respect for such ones could decrease, and we may fail to treat them as we would like to be treated.
Good. So why may we struggle to show respect for those who are not in the congregation? Oh, please, my sister, right next to Sister Kerwin.
Well, because we're often in a world where people don't show respect. I really liked what the paragraph mentioned in saying that some choose to remain ignorant. Sometimes it's easier to be nice to someone who doesn't know better, so to speak. But it's someone who's deliberately going out of their way to be so mean or nasty, it can be a lot harder.
Is that Sister Santos? Thank you. Thank you, Sister Santos. Beautiful thought. Let's add to that and consider, if we could, Walter, why, despite that, should we show respect?
Why show respect? Remember that Jehovah pays attention to how we treat unbelievers. The Apostle Peter reminded Christians that their fine conduct might move some to glorify God. For that reason, he admonished them to make a defense of their faith with a mild temper and deep respect. Whether standing trial for their faith or defending their beliefs while in conversation with a neighbor, Christians were to treat unbelievers just as they would if they were in the presence of God. After all, Jehovah is watching and listening to what we say and how we say it. What a powerful reason to treat those outside the congregation with respect.
Powerful, yes. So in 16, friends, let's take a look at our read scriptures together. We've got two. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 12, and then 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. Michelle, would you like to read chapter 2, verse 12? And who would like to read chapter 3? Jessica? Chapter 3, verse 15. Sisters, your discretion.
Maintain your conduct fine among the nations, so that when they accuse you of being wrongdoers, they may be eyewitnesses of your fine works and, as a result, glorify God in the day of his inspection.
But sanctify the Christ as Lord in your hearts, always ready to make a defense before everyone who demands of you a reason for the hope you have, but doing so with a mild temper and deep respect.
Nicely read, sisters. So based upon those two read scriptures, why is it important to show respect for those who are not yet serving Jehovah? Why is it important? Brother Mills?
Simply put, because we don't know what's going to happen to them. And basically, Jehovah is saying through each paragraph of this whole lesson, it doesn't matter what they do, it's what we do to them. So we're being judged not by what they do, but how we respond to them. So there's only one way to respond, respect.
Beautiful. Sister Gonzalez.
So the question was, why is it important to show respect for those who are not yet serving Jehovah? Not yet. They have the potential, and our behavior and the way that we treat others could play a direct role or have an impact on that.
Excellent, Jessica. Sister Canis, Maria.
And we are living close to the end, and we know that we are going to be persecuted, maybe by authorities or enemies. So if we show respect to people out of the congregation now, it will be easier for us to show respect then.
Yes. And according to our read scriptures, right? According to, let's say, 1 Peter 2:12. Why is it important to show respect for those who are not yet serving Jehovah? What does it accomplish according to the verse? According to the verse? Sister Menaric, please. Darla.
What would we like the most but them to glorify God? So that's our main objective as well.
Powerful. And in case we miss that, what's the objective according to 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15? Why is it important to show respect for those who are not yet serving God? What would you lift out of that verse? Brother Gaston?
In this case, we're able to make a defense before Jehovah with that deep respect that honors and glorifies him.
Yes, you sanctify the Christ as Lord in our hearts. Let's add to that, dear Brother Walter, how to show it, paragraph 17.
How to show respect. While in the ministry, we never want to give the impression that we look down on those who have little or no Bible knowledge. Instead, we want to consider others as both precious to God and superior to us. If someone insults you for your beliefs, resist the urge to retaliate, such as by using witty but sarcastic speech. If you do say something you regret, apologize immediately. How can you show respect for those at work? Be a conscientious worker and try to cultivate a good attitude toward those you work with and those you work for. When you are an honest, diligent, and whole-souled worker, you may or may not always please men, but you will definitely please God.
In paragraph 17, how can we show respect for those outside the congregation, friends? Ashley, Sister Canis.
Well, to show respect, we need to view them as precious to Jehovah. And Haggai 2:7 says that Jehovah is shaking out from the nations precious things. So when we view them, these ones as precious things that Jehovah is trying to shake out, we would never want to treat them harshly or give the impression that we look down on them, but rather we show them honor.
But what if we haven't? What if we slipped? Said something we regret? Neglected to show them respect? What should we do? My dear brother, please and welcome.
Here it says we should apologize immediately.
What does that do? What does apologizing immediately do? Why wouldn't we want to linger? Sister Kerwin?
Well, that person knows that we've disrespected him or made a mistake, and the longer we let that go, the longer that will fester. But when we immediately say, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have said that, I'm sorry I snapped, whatever, that person has a different viewpoint of Jehovah's people. And again, we do this because Jehovah wants us to be respectful of all people. We're reflecting his qualities. We want them to know what kind of God we worship.
Sister Prinkleton?
And also, too, we want to give that impression of not looking down on others that have little to or no Bible knowledge, especially in the work setting that we just talked about, because humility attracts, and we don't want to push people away from Jehovah.
And then in the workplace, it may have been mentioned. Sister Burke? Thank you, Jordan.
I liked how Colossians 3:22 and 23 was cited here, focusing on serving Jehovah, working whole-souled for him, not for men. But also in verse 22, it says with sincerity of heart. We can apply this in the work setting because we do spend a lot of time with our coworkers. Maybe it's our employees, employer, but also patients, clients, people who come into our work. If our respect for them isn't consistent and across the board, our coworkers will notice. They know we're Jehovah's Witnesses. They know we show respect. So it's important to focus on showing this quality to all, giving honor to Jehovah.
Excellent, Caitlin. Beautiful. Let's conclude, and we thank Brother Mejia for his fine reading. Let's conclude. We'll consider paragraph 18 together.
What good reasons we have to cultivate and show respect for others. We have seen that when we show respect for our family, we honor our family head Jehovah. Likewise, when we show respect for our spiritual brothers and sisters, we honor our Heavenly Father. And when we show respect for those outside the congregation, we create the best possible circumstances for them to glorify or honor our great God. Even if we never receive respect in return from some humans, it will be worthwhile to cultivate and show respect for them. Why? Because Jehovah will bless us. He promises, "Those honoring me, I will honor."
Beautiful, Walter. Why is it worthwhile? Am I too loud? Marcy says I'm too loud a lot. Why is it worthwhile to cultivate and show respect for others? Sister Candace.
Because whether it's in the family, in the congregation, or with those we deal with outside the congregation, when we honor people, it shows that we honor Jehovah. And as 1 Samuel 2:30 says, Jehovah will bless those who are honoring him.
Very, very good. So nice sum up, friends, of this lesson. In fact, let's consider some of the review questions. How can we show respect for family members? Sister Stallo?
Well, both in private and in public, we would not want to use speech that was mocking or name-calling, but we want to speak well of each other.
Beautiful, dear sister. How can we show respect for fellow worshipers? Sister DeBase?
Well, when we choose not to indulge in negative talk or slander, and when we work with the elders and express gratitude for their hard work, for caring, teaching, and shepherding.
Thank you for that, dear sister. And how can we show respect for those outside the congregation? Those outside the congregation. Sister Schaefer?
We can view them as Jehovah does, that they're precious to him. There's a possibility that one day they may actually worship him. So rather than looking down at them, we should consider others as superior.
Beautiful. So in conclusion, friends, as we've seen, we have every reason to show respect for others in the family, within the congregation, and those outside of the congregation. Why? Well, two reasons that were featured. It shows respect for Jehovah's arrangement, and it glorifies Jehovah, bringing everlasting blessings to those who do so, including personal respect and honor from the Most High himself. So thank you, friends, very, very much for this rich discussion in this article entitled Show Respect for Others. We want to thank Brother Garcia and his family for coming and visiting and worshiping with us this day. Beautiful talk, Ife. We look forward to your concluding prayer after song. With that, friends, those of you willing and able will invite you to stand up, and we'll sing together song number 129, We Will Keep Enduring, and that's based on Matthew chapter 24, verse 13. Song number 129, and a great weekend to everyone.
Question for paragraph 18. According to paragraph 18, why is it always worthwhile to cultivate and show respect for others in every setting? Paragraph 18 gathers all these thoughts and reminds us that respect is never wasted. Showing honor within the family brings joy to Jehovah, the head of the household. He sees every patient conversation, every act of care, and every effort to keep peace at home. Respect in the congregation likewise honors our Heavenly Father. When we speak well of our brothers, support the elders, and refuse gossip, we strengthen unity. Visitors sense that Jehovah's Spirit is present. Young ones learn that imperfect humans can live peacefully when guided by Bible principles. Paragraph 18 also highlights our conduct toward those outside. Courteous words and dignified behavior create the best setting for sincere people to glorify God. Even if they do not accept the truth immediately, they see how Bible principles transform ordinary daily life and personal relationships. Jehovah notices when we keep showing respect despite receiving little in return. Some may continue to ignore us, speak harshly, or misunderstand our motives. Yet our respectful conduct proves we are guided by Jehovah's standards, not by the fluctuating attitudes of humans around us daily. Jehovah's promise in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 30 assures us that those honoring him will be honored. That honor may come as inner peace, a clean conscience, stronger faith, or future assignments. Truly, cultivating respect now is a beautiful investment in Jehovah's loving smile.